So I've got the two batteries for the Patrol on charge right now. So I won't let the lighting affect that. So I'm going to have to take them on charge separately. I was working all last week trying to get the Patrol running, and I had the battery off the Hilux hooked up in parallel to the one in the car. And I'd only get about 10 or 15 seconds of cranking before it would discharge fully. So I'm charging up the deep cycle ones. Hopefully they charge up fine and I don't have to go buy a new battery. But in the meantime, while they're charging, I'm going to make a video on the Hilux. So what I did last night was I turned the boost up, I ripped my wastegate off and stuck the second spring in, and on the bench it started cracking open at about, I think 13 psi, 14, but it only boosts to about 10, 11 psi I think. I didn't know, I didn't get fully on it last night. I did rip all the timing out of my map, but it only made about 10 psi of boost, but either way, it kicks me in the arse compared to the 5 psi it was running on before. So that means now that I'm running more boost, I need a catch can. So I don't think I blew my dipstick out. I'm going to go check. I didn't look when I got home. I was doing night shift. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip the valve cover off and tap some MPT fittings into them, and then hose clamp some hoses onto them, and then make up a catch can out of some stuff I've got laying around here. But I'll talk you all through that once I get over to the car. Okay, so the bigger wastegate spring is in. A couple of things that I've done is I've fixed my coolant hose. I've just added this spacer in there so that there isn't like less than a millimeter of hose actually hanging onto the barb. What I've also done is I've changed the clamp here to one that probably holds a bit more pressure than it did before. And I've also made up a nice brace that the turbo is braced to the block with now, so it's not going to go anywhere. The only thing is, I think it may be developing another crack. Don't know how well you'll be able to see that. That looks to me like a big old crack. But I'll fix that down the track when I eventually redo the exhaust system. I probably should have made a manifold out of steam pipes, but depending on how much more annoying this manifold gets, I may just upgrade to a steam pipe one, but it's doing the job so far. So anyway, apart from that, over here I've got a big vacant space apart from where the fuel filter is, but I might be able to change that. So I had an idea for a catch can that I was going to just sit here. So the idea I had, Mum was throwing out this old stainless cooking pot, and I was like, hang on a minute, that could make a good catch can. So yeah, I think I'm going to sit this down in here. I will move the fuel filter around it, but it'll sit back in this corner, braced up against the chassis, and then it'll just have some fittings tapped into the top, and I'll weld in a bit of a labyrinth into the middle of it so that it doesn't just dump everywhere. And maybe even down the track I'd be able to have a hose barb running from it, which I could connect up to my oil dipstick there, which I'd be able to drain it through, which would be awesome. But anyway, apart from that, that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to mock everything up first. I'm going to move my fuel filter around and see if I can get it to a spot where I like it. Take a survey of all of the fittings that I have sitting around, as well as the lengths of pipe that I have. I'm probably going to use the same pipe as I have for the turbo drain. And then as well as that, I think that's what I'll do. Okay, so I've got my hose mocked up. So I'm going to run one hose barb to a BSP fitting. I'm going to run it just here. The hose will connect onto it like that, and then it'll run out here to where the catch can sits, and then I'm going to have another hose running through the back, placed here just next to where the original PCV is. So I've got three BSP fittings which I have a tap for, and I think the tapping drill size is about 19mm. So I've got three. I should have one more, which is a 90-degree bend, so that I can have one going into the side of the pot and one coming in the top at a 90-degree bend. So anyway, I'm going to pull all the stuff off now, and then yeah, grab my tools so that I can rip the valve cover off and then drill and tap the MPT fittings into them. I'm going to make sure I use a little bit of thread tape, as you always do on any tapered thread. I'm pretty sure these are tapered. You got BSP, which is British Standard Pipe, but you got BSPP and BSPT, which is British Standard Pipe parallel, and then British Standard Pipe taper. So depends on the one you have. I think mine's parallel, but from memory that's the same fitting I used in the sump for the oil return on here, and it's not leaking yet. I did cake it in some steel stick, whatever, But anyway, enough talking. I'm going to take my stuff off. I may actually check my valve clearances while I'm in there, but I'll get back to you when I do that. Okay, so most of the cam lobes look alright. It's just the one at the very back looks like it's a bit blackened up and burnt. Now from memory, that one had a pretty tight clearance on it, and I didn't want to be bothered lapping the shim down. So I think I'm not going to bother with that right now. People are probably screaming at me, but I can't be fucked. Like it is on the back side of the lobe. I may rotate it around just to see what the front of the lobe looks like. But what I will do in the future is I've got new valve springs to put in it. I'm not putting them in today because I need the patrol running before I do that, because that may take the car out of commission for a while. But I'm going to look at that later when I do pull the cams off so that I can get to the valve springs. I will polish everything up as well as measure the valve clearances before, and then lap any shims down that I need to so that they're all sweet for after. But anyway, what I am going to do now is I'm going to make sure nothing gets in the open engine here. I'm going to close the bonnet and then I'm going to clean up the valve cover and drill and tap some holes in it. That was fucked anyway. So there should be spring tension on this, because this acts as a pressure safety valve almost. It's got a little ball bearing, a check valve, sorry, a little ball bearing and a spring. So it sits down like that and will let pressure out this way, but won't let pressure back in that way. Little trick with thread tape. If you put it in your left hand, start at the bottom and wrap it around, providing that it's a right hand thread. Just give it 2 laps. It'll tear off in this direction, so that when you thread it in that way, it doesn't pull the tape back, but the tape stays in place. Alright, so I'm going to put this fitting in the one that I tapped up here, but I'm just going to cut off the MPT end and then plug it with something, probably some JB weld or something. But that'll just sit in there. But anyway, I've got these 2 barbs on now, which means I can run them to my catch can. Apart from that, I will paint the valve cover, but that'll be next time when I rip it off to do my valve springs. That's the word. Anyway, I'll whack it back in the car now and get to work on my catch can. Okay, so the valve cover's back on. I'll just do up my fittings and then whack some fittings into the pot there and set it up there, and we should be sweet. Okay, so I think I've got it how I'm going to do it. This hose goes to my knock listening headphones, which are very useful actually. They've been great. So the pipes come out of the hose barbs here, and I'm going to run this side down through here and into a hole in the side here, and then the one from this side is going to run down under the boost reference and come up into the hole there. So the holes are going to be down here and then down here. And so I'm going to drill and tap one of the holes. I'm going to have to do something weird for the other hole. I might just cut a straight hose barb in half and then just press fit it into a hole. Once that's done though, I'll be able to create some baffles on the inside, and I'm just going to use the vent of the cooking pot. The vent up here, it's got an inbuilt one so that you can not boil over your spaghetti, and use that as the actual vent for the whole crankcase, which would be sweet. So yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. Okay, so I've got this fitting JB welded in. I didn't have another one with a thread on it, so I just said stuff it and sent this one in there with a bunch of JB weld. It's also got a shoulder on the back, so there's no chance of it pushing out like that. But I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I will hopefully make up a way to hold it in the car. I'm probably just going to drill a hole in the bottom and bolt it in, and then make some sort of like clip that holds the lid on. Okay, so I've got my catch can installed now. I'm going to leave the hose clamps off the lines because I don't think I'm going to need them, as not that much pressure is made. But what I did was I just welded a bolt straight down to the bottom of the catch can, as well as drilled a hole which is bolting it down through one of the original threaded holes for the charcoal canister. So I've got a straight bolt going straight down and welded to the bottom of the can, which I then drilled a hole through everything else and then put that on so it's nice and sturdy. And it's got the vent from the original pot itself just in there for when you're cooking spaghetti. So that's all in now. Now I'm going to rip my battery off charge, go try and start the patrol. Alright, you want to go real quick? Ooh. Yeah, once it starts to run, just lift off it again, alright? Go on.